Joining me now is Frank Cilluffo, Associate Vice President at George Washington University and Director of the Center for Cyber and Homeland Security. Frank, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Elaine.
So this involves multiple agencies with a lot of moving parts. How do you begin to determine which leads to actually follow here?
You know, first and foremost, you have to go through all the documents, and I think what both Senator Burr and Senator Warner claim today is that they've devoted 7 full-time staffers to go through all the various documentation, and this includes highly classified and very sensitive information. So I think before jumping to conclusions, they're actually trying to go through every bit of documentation, and as Senator Burr said, wherever the facts take them, they'll follow, and that's how they're planning to oversee their investigation.
Well, from a security standpoint, Frank, are there any concerns about the pace at which this is proceeding?
You know, I mean, clearly everyone's waiting for answers yesterday, but I think that they're actually taking a very measured approach. As Jeff Pegues mentioned earlier in your broadcast, it really feels like a tale of two cities. It seems that they're going at great lengths to try to get to the bottom of the facts, and they're doing so in a bipartisan way.
I want to play some more sound from the press conference and get your response on the other side. Let's take a listen.
We know about the hacking and the selective leaking of information. But as a former tech guy, what really concerns me is at least some reports, and we've got to get to the bottom of this, that there were upwards of 1,000 paid internet trolls working out of a facility in Russia, in effect taking over a series of computers, which are then called a botnet. They can then generate news down to specific areas. It's been reported to me, and we've got to find this out, whether they were able to, in effect, specific areas in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, where you would not have been receiving off of your whoever your vendor might have been, Trump versus Clinton during the waning days of the election, but instead Clinton is sick, or Clinton is taking money from some source. Fake news.
So, Frank, I mean, how do you go about investigating something like that?
It's a great question, and I actually had to testify just last week at a cyber hearing before Congress, and underscored the challenge that countries such as Russia and China, in essence, provide safe haven, or a virtual safe haven, for a number of criminals. The same can be said if they're hiring so-called troll armies. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the best thing you can do here is unmask and expose the trolls themselves. I know that social media companies such as Facebook and Google have actually created task forces to try to get their arms around some of these challenges. And I think actually your viewers across the world have a role in terms of crowdsourcing, where they start identifying some of this false information and make that real. So we want to make sure that we obviously don't trample on freedom of speech, but the flip side is I think we do need to get a little more creative in terms of flagging and tagging false news. And I do think the use of troll armies, we've seen it now, and I think we're going to see it even more in the future. So something we really do have to get our arms around.
Well, Senator Burr said they're working with the appropriate agencies. What kind of information can the FBI, CIA, and NSA, for example, share with them?
You know, it goes anything from actual transcripts of information in terms of who's saying what, where, when, how. Obviously, the National Security Agency is in the business of signals intelligence or communications intelligence. The Central Intelligence Agency may have some unique human intelligence that they glean through sources that they have in the region, or allied sources may have. And the FBI, it's actually looking at wiretaps and other sorts of information they may have in terms of what they may have been following in terms of Russian actors that are deemed hostile. So it's putting all of these pieces together that ultimately makes this so vexing, and it can't be done instantaneously. People need to actually go through all of this information.
And finally, Frank, you touched on this. The senators really made it a point to present a united front. How do you think that's going to impact their investigation compared to what's been happening in the House?
You know, I think they seized the opportunity and clearly made an attempt, and I think successfully, that they will be the committee that's driving the investigation here. A lot of distractions on the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, and more importantly, I think both in tone and tenor, the nonpartisan or bipartisan approach bodes well for the American people.
All right, Frank Cilluffo in Washington. Frank, always great to have your perspective. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Elaine.